Let's go ahead and orient to a presentation that, in a way, will make itself up as we go along. I have the pleasure of meeting today, for the first time just a short time ago, Scott, who will introduce you to himself and to his work, and a work that puts him into a kind of relationship with what also matters greatly to me in terms of our joint concerns around issues of trauma and loss in human life, and how those might be understood constructively and perhaps constructivistically in terms of an assault on people's worlds of meaning and the way in which lives are remade in the wake of loss. Now, we've intentionally decided not to prepare anything by way of rehearsed remarks, so that what we hope is that a dialogue will unfold between us and among us around these issues of joint concern. And we have a full hour in order to see how that unfolds. And talking about this, Scott and I spontaneously generated the idea that it might be helpful for him to present a few slides regarding his background work, which might be new to some of you. And I know I myself am interested to learn more about that. So without further ado, let me turn it over to you. Thanks. You're all set.
Thank you. My name is Scott Johnson. I direct the Marriage and Family Therapy PhD program at Virginia Tech. And I had thought that this would be a pretty easy presentation. I got on the plane and Bob and I were going to chat a little bit, answer some questions about the shootings at Virginia Tech. And that's always how I fool myself, because these are not easy presentations. I spent most of the last 3 years working with the survivors of the shootings, their families, and the families of the victims who were killed, along with maybe a dozen other people, one of whom was my wife. Just to give you a little bit of background, since I think in news cycle terms, Virginia what? Shootings? Oh yeah, something somewhere. Wasn't that Alabama? On April 16th, early in the morning, Sung-Wi Cho, whose picture you are looking at, went into West Ambler Johnson Dormitory and murdered 2 people, Emily Hilscher and Ryan Clark. Emily was a freshman, Ryan was a triple major senior with a 4.0 average who was about to graduate. Biology, psychology, and English. I don't know many people like that. He went to the post office, as some of you may have gleaned, mailed a manifesto and a video to, I think it was NBC News. And then he walked across the campus to Norris Hall, an engineering building, but it has classes from a variety of departments. That morning there were classes in German, in French, in fluid mechanics, in civil engineering, hydrology. And he walked into about 5 classrooms and murdered 30 other people. He had chained the doors, all but one, in the building and put signs on the doors saying that if they were open, the bomb would go off. When the police broke through the doors and he heard them coming, he shot himself. During the course of my work, our work in recovery and support, we met many many people who had experience of mass murders. We at one point spoke with a team from Beslan, Russia, where over 400, mostly children, were murdered by a combination of Chechen separatists and the rescue response of the Russian security forces. I can't imagine that many victims, that many families, and I still can't imagine 32. There were 27 physically injured survivors, along with several unphysically injured witnesses, dozens of people across campus who heard the shots, saw students jumping from the windows of the second floor. That night, students took building stones from a construction site with the approval of the Vice President for Alumni Relations, in fact, I think with his suggestion, and made a semicircle of 33 stones in the center of the campus on what we call the drill field. That's a photograph of that impromptu memorial. The 33rd stone was taken away by whom we don't know. It was replaced and taken away again and was not restored. The next day, there was a convocation for the university community. President Bush attended and spoke, along with Laura Bush standing next to him, Tim Kaine, the governor at the time, John Warner, Senator Jim Webb, Senator, many dignitaries from across the country. Around campus, and I'm not quite sure whose idea this was, it might have been a combination of students and administrators, faculty. We arranged with, and I say we in the sense of the general university community, I was not involved in this decision, to take wooden doors, join them with hinges so they formed V, place them out like signboards around the campus, pink and white, for people to write notices on, like this one. I've forgotten how many boards there were. Dozens. And people wrote various remembrances, various remarks. A permanent memorial was built and dedicated in August of 2007, which replicated the impromptu memorial and located in the same place on the drill field at the reviewing stand in the center of the campus. The permanent memorial had the names of each of the 32 victims, 5 faculty, and 27 students, sandblasted into them. And every April 16th since that time, there has been a memorial at the drill field, attended by hundreds, if not sometimes thousands. In 2009, the students instituted a walk for 32, basically a 3.2-mile walk race. We were expecting a few hundred people the first time. I think we had 4,000 people come out. In the evening of April 16th, there was a candlelight vigil. People leave mementos of various kinds at the memorial. We had to develop any number of policies about that. People were leaving food. People were placing candles on the stones and leaving them burning. Nice gestures. They stained the stones. It has become, or at least was for several years, something of a